what? If that noise, Anton actually can't hear that because he's coming in over Skype, but if that noise doesn't wake you up, nothing will. Today we have communicationist and optimist, Anton Guinea, with us. How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm fantastic, bro. How you going, Adam? You well?
Yeah, we're really good, actually. It's we were just
Great.
talking a little bit before we jumped on here. It's just a matter of making the most of the situation at the moment and the opportunities. There are opportunities that it's presenting, so just a matter of grabbing them and getting into it, isn't it?
Oh, sure is, Adam. Like I was explaining to you that we've rebuilt our business really to offer new products, to offer them better, to actually service our clients sort of at a higher level than we were ever able to before. Because for sort of 15 years in our business, we thought we were going well and we thought we had this great service offering until we sat back and reflected on it and said, you know what, we've got time now during COVID because we had a month really where our work's face-to-face and we sort of had a month where we didn't have any face-to-face work in April, and we were able to sort of reflect on what we did and how we do it and sit back and say, well, you know what, we can actually do this better.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've done that, and we're still finishing. The government's given us some money for our website where we've rebuilt our service offerings. We've rebuilt all of our marketing collateral. We've rebuilt our workbooks for our programs. I'm doing a psych degree because I've got the time to do that. So I'm bringing a different level of knowledge and why people make decisions to our programs. So COVID's been great for us, Adam. Yeah, bring COVID on, man. We should have a COVID every year, just to have a month to reflect on your business each year.
Well, it has actually. It's funny you say that. To me, I'm here on the coast, and I've only moved back here permanently probably about 5-6 years ago, and it's like, to me, on the coast here at the moment, it's like we used to come up here as holidays as a kid, and it's like what it was back in the 1980s. There wasn't the bustle and everyone busting their ass to get from A to B all the time, and there's people actually down the beach with their kids, spending time with their kids. I don't think I've ever seen so much essential fishing go on in all my life as I've seen in the last couple of months.
Oh, I know.
But there certainly has been some positives out of it. A really good point that I just picked up on there. I was just listening to a podcast on this today, actually, the One Thing podcast. I don't know if you've ever read the book by Gary Keller.
Love it.
Yeah, okay. He's the guy that runs a podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but they pump out some fantastic content. Jeff Woods, he said when it actually hit, Gary Keller actually called him and said to him, forget all your KPIs and stuff for the year. I don't want you to worry about any of that. He said, I just want you to go back out to the community and say to them, what challenges are you facing? And he said their business has actually grown from the fact that they've forgotten about actually all the push and just gone back and have gone all of a sudden, what are the problems that people are facing? And like you said, rebuilt to service the needs that this has brought about. So where have you gone, mate? What have you actually looked at? What have you changed? What strategy have you changed? What's the new services? What are you finding that people need help with the most?
Mate, well, the first thing was we got a job to actually write the hygiene management plan for a major industry in the area to actually bring people back on site after COVID, which is really interesting because our business background, Adam, for your listeners, and you know it, but they probably don't. So we do what we call psychological safety. We do physical safety. So we do where those two intersect, and the piece in the middle between how we are emotionally and how we are physically is called leadership. So we've got this leadership piece in the middle where leaders have the ability to affect how people feel at work and then how they behave at work so that they are emotionally strong and they go home at the end of the day in a physically safe way. And so, part of that work is procedural. So we do a lot of report writing, procedure writing and process writing so that organisations are set up for success so that they know how they're going to run their business. And so, for example, one of the major industries locally want to bring their people back, and they're bringing them back like they've started a major shutdown already. The rest of the world's still going, looking around going, WTF, and this business has got 120 people on site doing a shutdown. And so we've written them a hygiene management plan that sort of cascades out of the national framework for hygiene management around COVID-19. And so, that's just one area of our business that now we've started some service offerings in. Now, the other part is this whole psychological safety. So we never actually packaged it up like that before COVID, Adam.
Yep.
Psychological safety has been around for a little while, and it was made famous by Google, a Google study where Google said, hold on, we've got this really successful business. Our businesses are cranking and our teams are cranking, what's it take to build highly effective teams, and what have we actually done to build high performing teams? And number one on the list was psychological safety. And what psychological safety is whether we, or how we feel when we're at work, and in particular how we feel in relation to taking risks, being vulnerable, sharing our thoughts and opinions, having robust conversations without worrying what other people think, basically being valued by our peers and our leaders. And there's this whole leadership component that wraps over the top of that. So without leaders who actually care and communicate to care and connect with their teams, all of a sudden, you get all of this stress in your team, which is a yucky word, and you get teams in turmoil and different things. And so what we've really done is we've actually said, well, COVID-19's given teams a whole lot more challenges. So, and what about working from home, right?
Yep.
Some people loved it and some people sort of struggled. And so we've worked with organisations to actually help bring people back to site safely and psychologically safety. So to get them back and say, well, you know what, let's integrate these people back into the teams and make sure we do that properly and professionally.
Yep.
And I'm going to turn that off so that doesn't beep again. And part of that is, one of the programs we're running at the moment is effective communication. So now that everyone's back and we've all got this new mindset around, well, we can't touch now and we can't be close to each other, and how do we speak to each other now? We're all back, and is it business as normal or is it not? So we're doing effective communication. Just roll on. Sorry, bro.
This is live, mate. No, it's good. I do run it like this for a very specific reason, right? There's not fucking cameras and all the rest of the shit. It's because people need to get, and COVID has pushed this, fortunately, people need to realise that they just need to get in front of the camera and use this shit. And if there's a car outside that starts, so be fucking it.
I like your style, bro.
Get on and tell your story. Yeah.
That's right. No, I agree. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. I don't let too much stop us either, as you know. So anyway, our big programs, if you summed up what we did, we do psychological safety, physical safety, we keep people safe, and then we wrap a leadership element over the top of that. And we say to people, and I've said this today already at meetings, hey, have you got people in your business? And they go, yeah, great. When do we start? That's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Anything that you want to do with your people, your leaders or your teams, whether it's disc profiling, I've usually got a lot of that stuff at hand here, whether it's disc profiling, so, your survey or your questionnaires, how do we interact with each other, or it might be some leadership stuff, how do leaders actually build high-performing teams, or is it the team itself in turmoil? So yeah, we've really ramped up how we actually bring those products to market now, especially with this psychological study that I'm doing. Holy crap, the brain is a really, really crazy thing, Adam, and it's good to know how it freaking works.
Mate, funny you should say this, right? I started in this stuff when I was bored back in about 2008, and I started teaching people how to use this stuff. And one person actually used it up in Gladstone, which was Desley O'Grady. She just picked the Facebook thing up and ran with it. Okay, 98% of the people that come along to that stuff that the GAPDL did and all the stuff that I taught back then did absolutely nothing with it. And I actually got to the point where back in about 3 years ago, I was working with 3 business coaches, and it was like all the stars aligned, right? I had Stephen Bradbury on board to help promote this thing. And I had 3 business coaches working on it. I thought, this is it. You finally got it. This is just going to blow up. And it wasn't a disaster, and they did pretty well, but they never ever got anywhere near what I expected them to be able to do, particularly pushing out video and stuff like that. And I went, you know what? If I can't get 3 business coaches who are coaching other people to do stuff, this is never ever going to work. So I give it away. But I'll come across a book. I don't know if you've read this book or not, called Atomic Habits. And it's all about getting people to build, or they say 21 days to a habit, which is just bullshit. It's a lot longer than that. It's about 65 to 66 repetitions, somewhere around about there. And starting with just 2 minutes a day. And if you can get people just to implement small things every day, it stacks up until it's actually something. How much along that line do you work, mate? And when you're working with these teams and building these teams, how much you focus on getting just those little things right for them to start with?
Oh, mate. So it's a great question. We used to do 2 days worth of training.
Yep.
And one of the things that we've really ramped up lately, we've been doing this for a few years, but I just realised now during COVID how important it is. So no matter whether we do a 1-day program, a 2-day program, and we've done 3-day programs in the past, no matter how long our trainings are, Adam, inevitably someone will come to us at the end of the program, whether it's a day or 3 days, and say, Anton, I get that really nice material, good stuff. What does that mean to me? How can I use it in this situation or that situation? So what we do, mate, is we actually say to them, right, great, I'll see you tomorrow. So now we do a day's worth of training and a day's worth of one-on-ones.
Yeah.
We sit down, so we don't have any more than 10 in our training sessions, because that's all the one-on-ones I can do in a day the next day. Otherwise, I'm mentally fried and people don't get it. So we sit down with people one-on-one, mate, and we actually make the material real. So we make it usable, we make it manageable, and we make it specific to their requirements. And they walk away from that one-on-one, go, oh, right, I get it. It sinks for them, and they come up with themselves that step-by-step, right, what am I going to do for the next month or the next 2 months or the next 3 months whenever we come back and check in with them. And so the idea of that one-on-one, so a day's worth of training and then a one-on-one, and let's make it personal, is to actually set up what it is that they've got to do from a habit and an habitual perspective to make this stuff stick. Because a day's worth of training, mate, you know, we all know we're all either visual, auditory or kinesthetic learners, and some of us don't process training well.
Yeah.
And, you know, and at best people probably remember 20% of the material.
Yeah.
So what you've really got to do is take them out of that environment and say, well, how does this relate to you personally? What can we do to tailor the material to your specific situation? When you do that with 10 people and all of a sudden 10 people get this whole aha moment, they go, holy crap, right, so that's what you meant by that. And that's how I can personally go and use it. That's when we know the rubber's hit the road, mate. When we give people a plan and then they stick to it. And I get it. I get what you said then. How do you get people to stick to it? And that's the hardest bit, mate, you know.
Yeah.
We just say that we just keep going. You know, hopefully people invite us back into their business, and I hold people accountable. And, you know, we've got leaders that I've been working with for years that some months take action, and guess what? Other months stuff gets in the way and they don't. So we work on a general consistency type basis. And I relate it to triathlon. People say, you know, how do you get good at triathlon? That's easy. You just train regularly. So you be consistent. And for me in triathlon, consistency is at least one training session most days, and if not 2. So I train twice a day some days, right? To me, that's consistency. So what I say to people in a leadership role is you don't have to be anal about your consistency. Be generally consistent. Be comfortable enough that you've been consistent enough to get the outcome that you want to get. Because it's not about right or wrong. It's not about my disc's better than yours, or I'm dominant, so I'm going to have to, you know, do these differently, or I'm an influencer, so I can do this. It's not about that. It's only about outcome. And what outcome do you want? What outcome are you getting? And if you're not getting what you want, maybe there's something you need to change in the middle. And what do those habits and patterns look like from a general consistency perspective, so that you measure your outcomes and hopefully get better outcomes.
Yeah, right. Just explain that. Not everyone's going to understand what you're talking about by this there, mate, because it's vitally important to understand how people actually tick. And he's just going back the one. Yep.
It's just we're live, bro, aren't we? We're live. So.
That's it. Because this gets missed a lot. Not enough attention gets paid to this. And there's a theme coming through here, right? If you train, you don't perform. Everyone goes, I want to be the best or perform at a high level. You don't perform at a high level unless you train. Every day. Every fucking day. You have to train, no matter what you do. Whether it's putting out live videos like this, you're doing what Anton's doing, all the rest of it. And you don't start off training. The way I explain it is you don't walk into the gym and try and push 400 kilos above your head the day you walk in. You can hurt yourself, you know. Just explain to them this stuff, and let's break it down. Just something that people can do simply to understand and get this, to be thinking about this every day.
Oh, mate, great question. So DISC has been around for a while. It was built by some psychologists out of the States, I believe. I should know the history of it. And what it does, it's an amazing thing. So in a half-hour survey, you get an analysis of what type of worker, leader, and communicator you are. Now, you get a big report, of course, which is really interesting. And the most common thing that people tell us about this report, Adam, is how the hell did you see inside my head and my heart? How the hell did you get this so accurate?
Yeah.
And we go, well, we don't know. We just trust the software. And now that we've got the information, we'll help you use it. And we take people through the night through this. You can read this whole thing. There's a lot of people that like to.
Yeah.
I'm not a details person, so I'm going to give you the summary.
That's an important point right there. Some people are details people, and they will want to read every fucking letter in that book. Other people won't, like me. I just like, give me the headlines. That's all I need.
And I'm with you, brother. So what the DISC stands for is dominant.
Yep.
It is dominant, influencer, steady, or conscientious.
Yep.
Now, what that tells you, and on page 9 is the overview. So that gives you an overview. You are. This is who you are. Now, then if you go to page 13, this is the bit that I like. So it gives you a graph, and it gives you your natural style and your adapted style. You'll notice my eye's high, so I've got some influencing skills, which is good.
Yep.
And you'll see that you actually change slightly based on whether you're under stress or not. So if you're under stress, you actually change in relation to how you work with other people and how you make decisions, how you communicate, how you speed up or how you slow down. So some people speed up their decision making when they're under stress, just make a decision. Other people, they go into, it's not fight or flight, it's freeze. It's like a big decision. Holy crap, I'm stressed. I'm not going to make a decision. And not making a decision is actually making a decision to do nothing, as you and I both know.
Yep.
So we take them through page 13 so they can actually understand whether they're dominant, influence, and steady or conscientious and what happens when they're under stress. Then, Adam, the best gift. This is a gift that we give to people. I say, here's the do's and don'ts of communicating with me.
Yep.
Here's the do. If you and I want to work together, here's the things to do and here's the things not to
do. Yep.
And what I encourage people to do is sit down with their teams if you're a leader, or even sit down with your leader and actually say, look, this is how you want to get the best out of me, Anton, Guinea, Mr. or Mrs. Leader. Here it is. So when you're talking to me, put the details in writing. I don't do discussions on details, as you and I just talked about.
Yep.
Join in with some name dropping and talk positively about people and their goals. Absolutely. You and I like that. We want to, we're vision, we're big picture people. Be candid, open, and patient. Absolutely.
Yep.
Especially for me, because I want to talk a lot. Show sincere interest. Ask for my input. Like you're willing to actually, say, hey, talk me through it, and you're really holding the space for me to actually talk you through this. Don't talk down to me. That's really uncool.
Yeah.
Don't be judgmental. Don't be vague or ambiguous. Be reasonably a bit of clarity. Don't leave decisions hanging. Don't bully me into agreeing with anything, because that.
Yeah, you're going to push straight back. Yep.
That's right. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So we're at the point with one business now, Adam, where they got 30 people in this department in the business. They want to put everyone's disc on the wall, the type of communicator they are with their names underneath it, or they communicate with each other in a robust way. Go and have a look at the wall and see how to communicate with Adam.
Yep.
See how to communicate with Anton, see how to communicate with someone else. There is power in this sort of thing. Getting to know yourself and others, as you know, top shelf, really, really important stuff.
But I mean, you don't just become an expert at that overnight either, do you? I mean, that is something. And people can't expect to just go and read that or go to a day course and go, all right, I'm a desk expert. I'm going to know everything that goes on. Like you said, there's variables in there as well. Are you under stress? Are you not under stress? So some perform better. I'm just weird. I'm like, the more pressure that's on, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the way that I tick. But there's not a right and wrong with it either, is there?
There's only outcome, mate, as we said before.
Yeah.
Only outcome. And people say, and when we drill deeper, because they say, well, I say there's no right or wrong, there's only outcome. They say, well, unpack that for us. What do you mean by that? And I say, well, at the end of the day, when we're communicating, the idea is to communicate, to care and connect. So when we're in teams or in leadership, we want to build relationships, not break them. So every communication is an opportunity to build, not break. And so they say, and then the next question is, well, okay, great. So how do you build and how do you break? Well, how do you break a relationship is by doing harm. It's by being aggressive, abusive, or abrupt. Like not taking the time. This stuff takes time, man, to deal with other human beings. It's
pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, to a degree.
Yeah.
And
it's time consuming, yes.
That's right. To do it properly, you've got to actually take time out of your day, Adam, as you know. Sit down and look eyeball to eyeball with someone and say, talk me through it. How you tracking? What do you need help with? How can I support you?
Yeah.
What's going on for you? I had a leader tell me the other day, and it was a she, so I'll say she said, Anton, I'm trying to type and I'm trying to work, and then I've got this other lady in my office and she's trying to tell me about all the problems, and here I am, I'm trying to work. How am I supposed to get any work done when my team's talking to me all the time?
Yeah. There's a problem right there.
So yeah, it takes time, and I get what you said too, Adam. It's people skills are a learnt skill. Some leaders, we give them a job title of leader, and we expect them to have those people skills, and you just don't unless you go out and purposefully, deliberately, with passion, try to learn the skills and learn from each scenario, learn from each interaction, watch body language, watch facial movements, watch how it is that we interact with each other, watch what gets the best results for this person, and understand the human interaction. Especially as a leader, it's so important to be so attuned to what people are thinking and feeling so that you can connect with them. And that's a learned skill.
Yeah. How much importance, I think we get this completely the wrong way around, okay? We go and look for a job and we look for the technical skills of the job. How much difference if we flipped it and we went, all right, the disc personality that we need to be able to perform this task is this. And then we measured the person off of that rather than org charts and the traditional methods that we've gone through. How much difference do you reckon that would make?
Oh, and we get asked to use this as part of the recruitment process.
Yeah.
Mate, significant is the answer. That we, in general terms, people hire and then they try to understand the fit. Why don't you get the fit right first? Because skills can be learnt, as you know, and you and I know the old cliche, we hire on attitude and then we train skills.
Yep.
If the attitude's right, and we know now that the most important skill, Adam, is not IQ. We used to think it was IQ, so they used to say 80% of our success was IQ.
Yeah.
Nice. Then it went to EQ, so emotional quotient, so how well we communicate with other humans, and it went 80% that way. In his book, Emotional Intelligence, Daniel Goleman thought that was right. Then he unpacked that myth of 80% being EQ, and then now we know that 100% of our success in life and the skill of the 21st century is adaptability.
Yep.
And we've seen that now with COVID. We've all had to change everything. And, the people that have adapted the best are the ones that are still got a positive mindset and that have thrived. It's businesses. It's people like you who go, you know what, I've got some time now, I'm going to make the most of this. That's adaptability, right?
Yeah.
They're the sort of things, and adaptability comes up in here big time. They're the skills you want to know when you're hiring, during the hiring process. Is this person adaptable? Are they? So I've got a sales role. I don't want a conscientious person. I don't want a dominant or direct person. I want an influencer.
Yeah.
So let's do this first, hire for fit, then train skill, rather than hire for skill and then try to train fit, because it's so hard to fit someone into a role that they're not made for.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. That's got to have a big impact. Have you listened to Sean Aker at all, the Happiness Advantage, or any of that? They're starting to tie happiness back to productivity, like you said, safety, all the rest of it. If you're matching the disc personality up at the right position, they've got to be happier. Naturally, got to be safer to start with. Do you not?
Oh, absolutely. And I was just going to grab my phone. Are you into Audible books, Adam?
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, me too, mate. I was going to show you. I think my favourite book on happiness was what was the lady's name who did she did A Year of Happiness, I think. I just want to find it here because it's worth looking at. the happiness wasn't the happiness project, maybe. Sorry. There's she. Oh, the happiness plan. There you go. So I don't know if you can see that, but the happiness plan.
Cool.
If you're happy in your role, you're going to do better at your role, obviously.
Yep.
And how do you be happy in your role? As a leader, you fulfill people's psychological needs. So we've got 3 big psychological needs. One is for autonomy. Mm-hmm. People want to be creative. They want to be left alone. We don't want to be micromanaged in general terms as a human being. Yep. We want to be able to demonstrate our competence. So we want to be able to show people that that skill set you hired us for, that we've either got it or we're getting it.
Yep.
The competence is a scale. And then the third one is relatedness. So psychologically, we need to relate to other human beings, right? And you imagine, Adam, in a team in turmoil where people don't talk, where they butt heads, where they are doing harm to each other, that relatedness goes out the window. So all of a sudden you've lost one of your key psychological needs. And if you don't meet all those 3, you'll never have a happy employee. Yeah. And you'll never have a productive employee because, like you said, happiness comes first, productivity comes second. Well said.
Yeah. Yep, we've got to learn to tie that more together, and even safety. I mean, safety we've sort of set as safety is our priority. It should just be it should be a given to me. It should drive the other things. Your safety should drive your happiness. Your safety should drive your productivity. If you're getting it right. You mentioned a Google study earlier before. Was that the moonshots or something like that? What was the particular study we were talking about with Google?
Project Aristotle, it's called.
Okay.
Project Aristotle.
So walk us through that. What was there?
So 2-year study. The question was very, very simply, what does it take to create highly, they use the word effective by memory. We use performing, they use effective, highly effective teams. And so they went and asked everyone in the Google business, or they asked the highly effective teams and said, what's it take? What do you do differently to, say, Microsoft or business? And I'm not saying Microsoft aren't highly effective, but to a business that aren't highly effective.
Yeah.
And they came out with 5 key things. And I'll show you here very quickly. Just so that you know. If you Google this, and this is in one of our training packs, I'll just find the page for you.
I want people to understand what the importance of effective is, because there's a productivity guy that I follow, right? And he says, listen to this, he says, productive means you produce more, efficient means you produce more with less, but effective means you do more of what works. That's the difference between the 3. So when Anton says effective, that's an incredibly important word.
It's doing the right stuff, Adam, eh?
Yep.
Well said. Because we all manage to fill our day.
Yeah, you can be productive. You can run around circles being productive as you like, getting absolutely fuck all done. But you're busy and, you're not actually achieving anything.
That's exactly right, mate. So Project Aristotle, psychological safety was the top thing in this Google study. And the reason I wanted to get it out for you is so that I just get some of these words right.
Yeah.
Team members feel safe to take risks, and that's like creativity, innovation risks, and ideation risks, which means express their ideas and opinions, and be vulnerable in front of each other. That's number one thing. Now, Amy Edmondson probably was a predecessor to Google. She's been trying to put psychological safety on the map since about 2000.
Yep.
She wrote a great book, The Fearless Organisation, I think it was called. And she was the sort of the market leader when it came to this. And the way that she described psychological safety, which I think is a better definition, it's one that I use, she talked about psychological safety. If you don't get it right, it means that you've done hierarchy wrong. So when she says hierarchy, an org chart is vertical and horizontal.
Yep.
So she said if you don't do hierarchy properly, which means strong leadership or strong peer-to-peer relationships, because guess what? Your peers, they can make you feel embarrassed, upset, hurt, stressed. Your peers they're the ones you spend more time with than your leaders sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to make sure as peers in teams that we're supporting our team members as well, and the other people in our team. The other things were dependability, structure and clarity, meaning and impact. And I think where you and I started this conversation is that about happiness. When people can depend on us, when we've got structure and clarity in our work, when our work's got meaning, and when it has an impact, watch smiles on people's faces, watch their shoulders go back, watch their confidence go up, watch their happiness, productivity, and effectiveness improve. Absolutely. Well said, man. I like that definition.
Yeah, oh, it wasn't mine. I pinched it off Ari myself, but it's very good. Mate, you mentioned that you're into tries. Okay, so you spend a lot. You said you train 1 to 2 times a day. How much? And I believe this is to the next level of safety. I believe that this is the thing, and everyone sort of overlooks it. Sleep and exercise and nutrition. How much of an impact do those things play, and why should we be looking at those? What should we be doing about that?
Mate, great question. So sleep. So I track my sleep religiously.
Mm-hmm.
Got a dashboard that I use from my Garmin.
Yep.
It tells me resting heart rate, which I look at every single day. I know how I'm feeling based on my stress level, which is part of that dashboard. So on my dashboard, I wish I could show you a copy. I've got everything from my sleep to my stress level to my resting heart rate to my last training session, so I can actually have a look and see how that went. Because based on how I go on that is sometimes an indicator that I might be getting sick if my heart rate's up high during that session or lower than it should be. Lower means fatigue, higher means that I could be getting a little bit sicker.
Yeah.
So our bodies recover during sleep, as you know, and too many people undervalue that. And especially as we get older, you and I are sort of now in our 20s and our 30s.
Yeah, 23 now.
That's right. So as we get older, what I'm finding, Adam, is even though I train twice a day, some days, Fridays I have off, so I don't train 1 day a week. Mondays I don't train Monday morning. Monday's only a swim day, so I don't do any biking or running, so I give the legs a rest after a big weekend.
Yep.
It's the recovery I'm finding more and more. So 12 years ago when I started this sport, I could go really hard. I could do a hard run and a hard ride both in the same day. I can't do 2 hard training sessions in a day now. I need more time to recover. But I'm measuring that through all the data that we've got these days, and I encourage people to get smart stuff so that you can actually trend this stuff. See your heart rate come down as you train, or see it go up as you don't train. Or the days, some days I'll have a beer and I don't drink a lot, but those days I see my resting heart rate go up because your body's trying to now deal with a chemical. And then the days that I sleep better, I actually feel better, strangely enough. The days that I sleep more, I feel recovered more and my muscles feel better. So rest and diet, mate, I've spent years at 100 kilos and I've spent years at 80 kilos and I'm close to 80 than 100 now. And, you can't out-train a bad diet, Adam B.
I love that, son.
Don't worry, I've tried.
Yeah.
So,
that data is important to track, buddy. I mean, you can't improve if you're not tracking. I think we've gone, and I believe the whole industry's gone down this path when a lot of awesome stuff's come in with the safety, the hierarchy of control, all this sorts of stuff that we've brought into the system. But what we pushed out when we brought that in was we used to track a lot of metrics, as in how many inches you welded a day, all these sorts of things, which we don't do anymore because it's seen people can't be safe if we're focused on what we should be putting out, which right. I don't believe is right. I believe that until we get that data back into the system, and so we're tracking this data, that we know that there's no way for people to know how they're going to improve, is it? That's why you track your data, is it not, for your training?
Mate, what you don't monitor, you can't manage, and what you don't manage, you can't improve, right?
Yeah.
You and I both know the value, the importance. So when I go in here every day at different times. So you can see my fitness is peaking at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I've got a race coming up this weekend. You can see what my resting heart rate is there. You can see all of that at the touch of a button. And I just don't understand how, I'm at that point now where I use this sort of data so much in my life that I don't understand how I ever lived without it. and we have monthly targets, Adam, and here's just another example, I guess, on what we can measure and manage and monitor. I'm teaching myself to juggle this month.
Yep.
So juggling is one of the skills that is proven to actually increase the size of our grey matter.
Yep.
Because it's the whole left and right. Anything that crosses over the middle line actually creates this left brain, right brain connection. Now, it's one thing to say I'm going to juggle every day, but it's another thing to track how many times I can juggle a day, what time of the day I'm doing it, how the total numbers. So for this week, I'm doing 15 goes. I'm having 15 goes at it. And, at the moment, my top score, my top number of juggles is over 500, man.
Yeah.
So I'm graphing all this. And at the end of the day, I'm going to put out a talk and just say, hey, this is what I've learned over the last month just juggling. So some days when I'm tired, I don't juggle as well. I did some psych exams last week, and so I juggled before an exam and then after exam to see what the difference was.
Yeah.
On Sunday, I juggled after I'd done a triathlon simulation or a virtual race, and I didn't do so well because I was just mentally fatigued. So what does that mean for our motor skills when we're tired? We've got to make sure that we look after ourselves, and this comes back to our sleep and our rest, so that when we show up, we're actually mentally prepared to think fast and talk slow, so that our mental processing is where it should be, because when we're tired, it can't be. And this whole, just something as simple as juggling and being able to concentrate on that. So I'm juggling that long now that it's like a half-hour process every day, because I've got consistent. And you said, I love what you said before. Does it take 21 hours or 21 days, or does it take 65 days? It took me 15 days. It was only the start of this week where I actually said to my wife, I've got this skill. It took me 15 days to actually go, you know what? I feel comfortable, competent doing this.
Yep.
And that's every day.
Yep.
So if there's people out there that want to learn a skill, whether it's leadership or whatever, this isn't a 5-minute job. It's a day in, and this is the consistency thing. And I had a look, they say 10,000 hours to learn a skill. So I've added up how many times I've juggled over the last, it'll be 18 days. And it was about 7,000 or 8,000 times I've caught a ball.
Yep.
It's not 10,000.
Yep.
It took me till day 15.
Yep.
So what's all that mean? Nothing. It just means that I'm consistent and I'm measuring it so that I know that I'm going to improve every day. And
you can see you're improving. Yeah. Yeah. I know that is the thing with all of it. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. As simple as that.
Exactly right.
And how do you know when you are actually improving it?
Yeah, exactly. How do you? What are your metrics? What are you tracking?
Yeah.
You want to see those graphs go up, right? And until you're tracking it, you just don't know. You're sort of flying blind. I say flying blind.
Yeah, hope and pray.
That's it.
Mate, what have you got going on at the moment? Have you got stuff coming up? Is there people should be reaching out for you? What are you actually working on or working towards?
Mate, I think the big program that we got at the moment is this effective communication. So coming back after COVID, helping people reconnect, I think is the big thing. And we'd love to talk to and support, serve any of your contacts, any of your clients, anyone watching this. So please reach out, and you can get us at theguineagroup.com.au, or you can get Anton at theguineagroup.com.au. And Adam's probably got my phone number. And if you haven't, mate, I'll give it to you so that people can get me directly. So that actually, here you go. There you go. Effective communication.
Yep.
Our new look, sexy little workbooks. We don't give people, big, thick stuff to leave on there. We don't give them shelf improvement anymore.
Yep.
We give them self-improvement. And so, this is a package where we talk about all of the stuff that you and I really unpacked today, right down to this. So we've got DISC in there, but we've also got that element of AQ. So we talk people through what this adaptability quotient looks like yep. AQ. And we help people actually, unpack this growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. We're never too old to learn. You can teach old dogs new tricks. Mm-hmm. And it's been proven no matter how old we are, we can still learn and learn fast.
Yep.
And And I'd love to share all of those communication learnings that we're getting from businesses that are coming back to what we call normal, people coming back into a workplace and struggling with that reacclimatization and what that looks like from a human communication perspective. That's probably our biggest ticket item at the moment that we are lucky enough to be able to deliver to a heap of organisations. So thank you to all our clients for having us. We appreciate you, and we'd love to have any of your contacts, Adam, as a client too. So please reach out, and we'd love to tell you about our programs.
Yep, no worries. I've actually got, you can't see it, but I've got your website sitting up in front of you there, and I've flashed up your LinkedIn as well, so people can connect with you there. Mate, what have I missed that I should have asked you? What haven't I asked you that I should have asked you today?
Probably only one question, mate. One thing I'd love to share with you, and I'd love to share with your audience, how I got started, which is a fairly common question.
Yeah. I've actually skipped that bit. You got me excited with all the other stuff. As soon as you started talking about behaviour-based stuff and that, that was there. Yeah, tell us your story, mate. Where you come from, how you got to where you are.
And I'll be short because I can see that we've gone forever now. You and I just.
Oh, that's all good. You go for as long as you like, man. As long as we're keeping people interested, you keep going.
Thanks, champion. So I had a bad workplace incident when I was a young punk, and I was sort of 21. I got blown up in a switchboard and blew my face off and blew some of my hands off and different things. And spent a month or two in the burns unit, which sucked, and through intensive care, and they peel all your skin off, and you go through the whole rest and recoup and the recovery, and you go through social. What is it? That occupational therapy, not social distancing. Got on the brain, occupational therapy to make sure that all your skin doesn't tighten up and that your limbs maintain that elasticity, and so does your skin. And so I went through that journey, and I had to get my eyes checked for a while because I was, we were worried I was going to lose my sight from the brightness of that thing. And, and it sort of had a toll on me. It took a toll, and I never talked about that incident for 10 years because it was like, why me? I got shitty about it, excuse the language. I got really annoyed about it. Why me? Blame. You blame people when you have an incident. People tell you back then, it was 20 years ago, people say, oh, you won't be employable, or it was your fault. Why did you do something silly like that? And it knocks your confidence around a lot. And so it took a sort of a fair bit of rebuild from an emotional and a confidence perspective to actually get through that. And I never talked about the incident for 10 years until we came back to Gladstone. Everyone wanted to know about it because they hadn't seen people for 10 years, and they wanted to know how it got on. And I heard you blew your hands off, or I heard you died, or whatever. And I said, no, I didn't. And finally got asked to chair a safety meeting, and people wanted to hear about the personal story. So I told them, and it got a lot of interest, and people were like, wow, gee, I didn't know that about you, or yeah, thanks for telling us, that's really cool. And that's made an impact on us. I went, shit, so it's made an impact, great. So I went and handed my resignation into the boss on that side and said, I'm going to become a speaker, whatever that. And then I came home. After I'd resigned, I got to come home and tell my wife about that. She said, oh, that's interesting. She said, oh, and how are we going to feed the kids and pay these 2 home loans that we've got? And she didn't have a job at the time, of course. She was a student. She was a teaching student. And I said, no, trust me, we'll be right. And I said, we've got this. We've got this. And she said, well, actually, no, we're not in this yet. You're in this, Jim. Yeah. I said, all right, babe, trust me. And here we are 15 years later. So mind you, mate, we've had massive business ups and we've had massive business downs. So we've had some good times and we've had some really crap times. And there's times where she said, how's the Trust Me train working out now, champion? And not so good, baby. But, I'd say to anyone out there in business, Adam, you'd never do it. You'd never do it if you knew how tough it was going to be once you got into it. You've got to go into business with a ignorant perspective. You've got to go in ignorant and go, you know what, I don't care. I'm not worried about how tough it's going to be. I know there's going to be tough times, but hey, I'm going to get through them. Because if you focus on all of the tough stuff that comes through business, you'd probably never do it. And so I just jumped one day in a heartbeat, and all of a sudden ended up, I've been lucky enough to speak around the world, and I've been lucky enough to have some great clients around the place, and been lucky enough to do what I love for 15 years. And like I say, we've made a heap and we've lost a heap, and At the end of the day, Jules and I are still together after 30 years, and I've got 2 happy, healthy kids, and life's good, mate. I'm going to keep sending the message out there that you can become a great version of yourself if you want to, and you can build a highly effective and high performing teams if that's your thing, and it's all about improving ourselves and becoming better versions of ourselves. So that's where it all started, mate.
Yeah. Actually, I heard a really good quote on it today. It was, I can't remember what the podcast was, but it said, become a millionaire, not for the $1 million, but for what you'll become in the process. And I don't think ever truer word was spoken than that. But, it is, you got to tell you what, you want to get into personal development and all the rest of it. Going through business is the greatest personal development process that you'll ever go through in your life. He goes through the whole lot.
Well said, bro.
It is, and I mean, that's why I like getting people on there to actually tell the real story about what it's like. There's too much, and I was on with Lewis the other night, and we talked about the thing called fuck up nights, which come out of Mexico, where that people actually get together and talk about the stuff. They got that sick of hearing people sitting in the bar talking themselves up that they started that to get some of those real stories out here, which is basically what I do itself. There's no hiding behind the fact that I've made more than my fair share, and I'll make more than my fair share in the future as well. But as you say, you just keep going, don't you?
That's right. And I spoke at one of his F-up nights as well.
Yeah, right.
Talked about how to lose a couple of $1 million, which was interesting. That seemed to be well received.
Yeah, but as I say, mate, it's just part of the process, and it's like what we're going through at the moment. Is you can't worry about it. You just got to deal with it at the time and move on.
That's right, mate. Hey,
one question I always ask everyone, is there someone that you're really trying to reach out to, that you're trying to connect with? Because you just never know who knows who or who sees these things. Throw it out there.
Great. Our 5 key clients, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Qantas, Adani, Ironman Triathlon.
Yep.
And who's our fifth one? And Telstra.
Yep.
So if you know anyone in any of those businesses, and why, love the Rabbitohs, Qantas, the great Australian, been around forever,
yep.
Ironman Triathlon, bring that on.
Yep.
Adani, because they've had so much negative press. I'd love to support them and help them out and help them, and they're such a big employer. And of course, Telstra have got such a bad name. Geez, I think we can make it.
Good luck with that one. A braver man than me. You wouldn't want to end up dealing with me on the other end when I'm talking to Telstra.
Okay, and I think we all get a bit like that. Talk about less than personal development.
That's the ultimate resilience test of that one.
That's right. So if anyone knows anyone in those organisations, yes, please connect me, and I'm happy to connect you to anyone that you know or need to be connected to. Check out my LinkedIn. We're pretty connected.
Yeah, cool. I'm just flashing up right now. All right, mate. Any last words? We've got Desley on here tonight. Just saying hello.
Mate, isn't she amazing? She's such a fantastic human being, and she's just been voted back in, which is good. So the Gladstone voters know the value that she adds to our community, so they've given her the opportunity to support us again and to represent us again. So that was fantastic. Mate, just want to shout out to you. So thanks heaps for doing this. For people like myself, it's great to always get the opportunity, and sometimes I'm on this side of the camera and sometimes I'm on that side where I'm asking the questions. So It's great work that you do, and I'd love to offer you the opportunity one day too, mate. We'll do the same thing. You help me with the tech, and I'll do an interview with you where you tell your story, and then we can get that out to your listeners as well, or to your prospective clients, and give you some content as well if you'd like to.
Too easy. That'd be perfect. We can do that.
Cool.
All right. Unless there's anything else, yes, as I said, Desley is a mad one that back in when we did the GOPDL thing, actually picked it up and did something with it. So there's a great video. I'll close off with this. We're talking about leadership today. Have you ever seen the one on how to start a movement on the TED Talk? And it's the first follower that turns a lone nut into a leader. So if you haven't seen that video, go across to YouTube right now. Just put in how to start a movement. Derek Silvers.
I think, is it the first follower or the second? Yeah, the first follower.
The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. So if you haven't seen it. It's only a couple of minutes, about 3 or 4 minutes. I'll put a link in for it later. I haven't quite got it with me now. All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, champion. Thanks for having me, mate.
I'll kill it live. We'll still be on Skype, but I'll just kill this live.
Thanks, champion.
Actually, I'll play an outro. Give me a minute. I'll just might as well put a bit of a outro in for people to go and have a look at why we wrap this up.
Perfect, bro.
It's the expectation that kills you, right? It's the most dangerous emotion on the planet, expectation. Because if you build your expectation up too high, even if you achieved a whole bunch of things that you've never done before, but if your expectation for the week was here, scientifically, and you hit here, even though you may have done some amazing things in that week, but your expectation was set up here, guess what? You have zero emotional resonance.
Yep.
It's only when you meet or exceed your expectations does your brain recognize that you can form a habit, that you've got any way of forming a habit. Is meeting or beating expectations is the only way you will repeat an activity. That's why drugs are so effective, because the first time you take it, they're, whoa, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah. And your brain goes, wow, that exceeded my expectations. So it encourages you to do it again. And that's how you form the habit. Okay. Now we don't want people to, say no to drugs, kids. But if we study how people get addicted and use that in a positive way, then we can do that. Now, here's the thing. Who sets those expectations? You do. And guess what? Your brain cannot determine the difference between an expectation that's set up here, metaphorically, and down here, metaphorically. That's crucial, because you can set the secret to my success is I have incredibly low expectations of myself. That's why I've been so successful, because I just really don't expect much. If I get out of bed and put my pants on in the morning, I'm considering that day a success.
That's a win.
Right? That's a win. Right? Now, I'm only slightly being, slightly sarcastic here.